You cannot heal in the same place that broke you. Let that hit first, my friends. Let it cut through the noise, because sometimes the most dangerous place isn't the battlefield, it's the bed you keep going back to, the arms that once felt like home but now feel like a cage. The face you keep waiting on, hoping it will finally see you, finally choose you, finally change. But let's stop pretending. You can't keep watering a dead plant and calling it growth. You can't keep patching up a sinking ship and calling it sailing. You can't keep handing your heart to someone who doesn't even know how to hold it and calling that love. Folks, that's not love, that's emotional gambling, and the house always wins. Here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. Some people are meant to teach you pain, not stay in your life forever. They're the lesson, not the blessing. And I know, you've told yourself they'll change. You've waited for the version of them you saw in the beginning to come back. You've held on to the potential, the memories, the what-ifs. But let's break that lie today. People don't change just because you love them harder. They change when they decide to. And if you're the only one trying, it's not a relationship, it's a rescue mission. And you're not a lifeguard. You're a human being who deserves to be loved back. Imagine this with me. You're on a boat. It's leaking. You've got a bucket in your hands, desperately scooping water out while they just sit back, legs up, sunglasses on, asking you what's for dinner. That's what it feels like to carry a connection that's already broken. You're not saving the relationship. You're drowning slowly while they enjoy the view. And somewhere deep inside, you know this isn't right. You feel it when the calls get shorter, when the silence gets louder, when your smiles start to feel fake. That whisper inside, that's your soul, and it's begging you to let go. One of my favorite Stoic teachings is this: it is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. How many of us are alive, but not living? How many of us are stuck in emotional limbo, holding on to someone we hope will become what we need, while ignoring the fact they never were? That's not living, my friend. That's surviving in slow motion. And let me add this, because sometimes we gotta laugh through the tears. Some of you are so loyal, you'd stay in a group chat where no one talks, just because you don't want to be rude. That's how loyal you are in relationships too. You keep showing up for someone who stopped showing up for you a long time ago. That's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment with a smile. But guess what? You don't owe your future to your past. You don't owe forever to someone who gave you half effort. You are allowed to walk away from what's breaking you, even if it once made you feel whole. This is not about blame, it's about truth. And the truth is, if you want peace, you have to stop begging chaos to love you right. So say it with me, right now, in the comments: I choose peace. Let the world hear you. Let yourself hear you. And if this is already speaking to your soul, smash that like button, press subscribe, and stay with me. Because we're just getting started. Say it again, out loud. I choose peace. Because that's your power. That's your turning point. That's your next chapter. Number 1, you build them up, but they drain you down. If you find yourself constantly pouring into someone who leaves you empty, you're not in love. You're in a cycle of self-destruction. Let that one breathe for a second, my friends, because this right here, this is where many people get stuck. Not because they don't see the truth, but because they don't want it to be true. You gave your heart, your time, your energy. You built them up when they were broken. You believed in them when they didn't even believe in themselves. And now, look at you, drained, doubting yourself, running on fumes while they walk around like they're the prize. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine holding a cracked cup. You keep pouring water into it again and again, even though it leaks every time. That's what this feels like. You became the builder, the healer, the motivator, the entire support system for someone who didn't have the courage to grow on their own. And it felt noble at first. It felt like love. But now it just feels exhausting. And deep down, you know it's not supposed to be this way. Here's the part that stings. The reason you stayed wasn't because you were blind. It's because you were hopeful. You saw what they could become. You thought, if I just love them right, if I just stay patient, they'll evolve. They'll rise. But folks, here's a Stoic truth. You cannot teach someone to swim by drowning yourself. You can't save someone who isn't even trying to tread water. And love that only goes one way, that's not love. It's emotional labor disguised as loyalty. And now, maybe you're sitting there wondering, was I stupid? Was I naive? No, you were just kind. But there's a thin line between being kind and being used. You gave them the blueprint to become better, and they built themselves up with your energy while you fell apart in the process. You helped them dream while you put your own dreams on pause. You made space for their growth, but they never made room for yours. And now, here's the lie you've been telling yourself. At least I made them better. That's the one that really gets people, as if your reward is watching someone become amazing for someone else. But tell me this, what about you? What about your needs, your evolution? What did they build in you? Or were they just there, soaking it all in, while you did the work of two people? This is not balance. This is not partnership. This is you becoming a therapist, a coach, a parent, and a lover to someone who only ever learned how to take. And when you ask for something back, support, presence, effort, they act like you're demanding too much. Let me ask you something. If you're the one doing all the giving and they're doing all the taking, how is that love? That's not a relationship. That's a transaction. You're paying in pain and they're cashing in your peace. The Stoics believed in mutual growth. A friend to all is a friend to none, said Aristotle, and Marcus Aurelius echoed this in his Meditations. If someone isn't helping you become more virtuous, more grounded, more free, then they're not your partner, they're your distraction. Stoicism teaches us not to cling to things or people that are outside of our control. And let's be honest, you've tried to control their growth, their direction, their mindset. But growth is not something you can drag someone into. It's a personal decision. And still, you hesitate. You ask yourself, what if they finally change after I leave? That's the fear, isn't it? That they'll become everything you wanted for someone else. But hear this, if you had to break yourself to build them, they were never right for you to begin with. You were not sent to fix them. That is not your job. Your job is to grow, to love deeply, yes, but also to protect your energy and your essence. Sometimes walking away isn't quitting, it's reclaiming. You're not giving up, you're stepping back into your power. You're realizing that you've been carrying a two-person load by yourself, and the longer you carry them, the heavier it gets. Not because they're growing, but because your spirit is shrinking. And here's the part you need to hear most. They may never say thank you. They may never admit you were the one who helped them climb out of the mud. That's okay. You don't need closure when you've got clarity. And clarity starts the moment you stop negotiating your worth. So take a breath, my friend. You've done more than enough. You've fought hard. You've stayed longer than you should have. But now, it's time to return home to yourself, back to your peace, back to your purpose, back to a life where you are poured into too. Say it with me in the comments. I release what drains me. Write it down. Say it out loud. Let the world hear your turning point, because you're not here to be someone's emotional crutch. You're here to stand tall, to rise, to grow with someone, not in spite of them. And if you feel this truth deep in your bones, don't go anywhere. The next part of this journey, it's going to show you what real respect looks like and why letting go isn't the loss you think it is. Hit that like button, press subscribe, and most importantly, keep walking with me. I release what drains me. That's your power now. Number 2, disrespect isn't always loud. Sometimes it's consistent. The things you ignore today become the things that break you tomorrow. Let that one land, my friends, because disrespect isn't always a loud explosion. It's a slow leak, a drip, a quiet cracking of your boundaries, one small cut at a time. Most people think disrespect only shows up when someone yells at you, cheats on you, or throws things across the room. But real damage, the kind that erodes your self-worth, it often walks in quietly. It hides behind jokes that sting. It hides in silence that lasts too long. It hides in the way they dismiss your feelings with a shrug and a sigh, like you're just too much. See, no one ever wakes up and says, "I'm going to let someone walk all over me today." It starts small. A sarcastic remark brushed off as humor, a broken promise forgiven too easily, a night they forgot to call, and you let it slide. Again, and again, and again. Before you know it, your standards have been lowered so gradually you didn't even realize you're living in a version of yourself you no longer recognize. That's what consistent disrespect does. It doesn't hit like a slap, it seeps in like poison. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine living in a house that never gets cleaned. No big messes, just dust. Tiny crumbs, one dirty dish left out. You tell yourself you'll handle it tomorrow. It's not that bad, but day after day, it piles up. The air gets heavier, the mess becomes normal, and eventually it's no longer a home, it's a burden. That's what chronic disrespect does to your heart. It fills the corners of your soul with silent resentment. Until one day you snap. Or worse, you go numb. Here's the part people don't want to admit. Some of you have convinced yourselves that it's not that bad. You repeat it like a mantra. It's not abuse. They didn't mean it. They were just tired. You find excuses faster than they find apologies. But my friends, here's the Stoic reality check. It is not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them. That quote from Epictetus reminds us, if your peace is disturbed, it doesn't matter how small the offense was. You felt it. You noticed it. You're allowed to trust that. And I know what you might be thinking. But I've been disrespectful too. That's fair. Relationships are messy. We all make mistakes, but there's a difference between slipping up and setting a pattern. There's a difference between two people working through hurt and one person constantly hurting while the other constantly forgives. If you're in something where the disrespect is mutual and fueled by past pain, maybe what you're calling love is just two wounds trying to cling to each other. That's not healing. That's trauma recycling itself. Now I want you to ask yourself this. When was the last time you truly felt safe in their presence? Safe to speak, safe to cry, safe to be yourself without being mocked, silenced, or ignored. If you have to walk on eggshells, if you're scared to bring up how you feel because you know they'll twist it, blow up, or shut down, that's not love. That's fear wearing a mask. And here's what makes it harder. Sometimes the disrespect isn't even intentional. Sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it. But that doesn't make it okay. Just because someone doesn't mean to disrespect, you doesn't mean you have to keep swallowing it. You are not responsible for explaining your worth over and over. You don't have to beg someone to treat you like you matter. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who caused the injury." That means you don't need to stoop to their level. You don't need to yell, curse, or fight fire with fire. You simply need to rise, to remove yourself from what breaks you, to walk away, not out of anger, but out of clarity. So let's break the lie that says you're overreacting. Let's bury the excuse that says everyone has flaws. Because yes, everyone does. But not everyone makes you feel small. Not everyone drains your joy. Not everyone makes you question your worth every time you speak. Real love may challenge you, but it never disrespects you. Say it with me in the comments. I will not tolerate silent disrespect. Not anymore. Not in the name of love. Not in the name of loyalty. Not in the name of potential. Press the like button if this hit your heart. Hit subscribe because the next section, it's going to call out another deep truth when your future and theirs no longer walk the same path. And remember, stay with me. I will not tolerate silent disrespect. Say it, own it, live it. The world around you changes when you stop accepting less. Number 3, you're aligned with the wrong future. It doesn't matter how beautiful the journey is. If you're on the wrong train, you're not going to end up where you belong. Let that hit first, my friends, because sometimes it's not about how much love there is. Sometimes it's about direction. You can have the deepest connection, the wildest chemistry, the most passionate moments, but if you're moving toward different destinations, you're already losing each other, slowly, quietly, inevitably. Imagine this, you're standing at a train station, 2 trains pull up, one is heading north, the other, south. You and the person you're with each get on your own train. You wave, you smile, you both swear you'll figure it out. But the truth is, you're moving in opposite directions. You keep texting, calling, maybe even jumping off at the next station just to run and catch theirs. But sooner or later, you're going to have to decide, do you keep running after them, or do you finally get on the one that leads to your future? That's what it feels like to love someone whose vision doesn't match yours. Maybe you want commitment, and they want freedom. Maybe you dream of building a family, and they dream of building an empire. Maybe you crave quiet mornings and deep talks, and they crave the next party, the next thrill, the next escape. It doesn't make them a bad person, and it doesn't make you too much. It just means you're not aligned. But here's the dangerous part. When love is involved, we ignore the signs. We think we can change the route. We think maybe they'll want the same things later. So we stay, we delay, we hope. But deep down, we already feel it. That quiet ache, that little voice whispering, you're not on the same page. And Stoicism, in its grounded clarity, reminds us, if a thing does not help your virtue or your peace, it must be discarded. Now, don't get me wrong. Relationships take compromise. No 2 people will be perfectly synced in every way. But there's a difference between small adjustments and sacrificing your future just to keep someone from walking away. If you find yourself slowly dimming your light, shrinking your dreams, muting your voice just to keep them comfortable, you're not in a relationship. You're in a silent war with yourself. You may tell yourself, but they treat me well, or they're a good person. And that may all be true, but good doesn't always mean right. This is one of the hardest truths to swallow. Even someone who loves you can still be wrong for you. Even someone who wants you can still delay your purpose. That's the heartbreak no one talks about. Because walking away from a toxic person is easier. You can point to the pain. But walking away from a kind soul who's just not aligned, that's grief in disguise. And still, you stay because it's familiar, because it's comfortable, because letting go feels like giving up. But my friends, let me say this loud. Choosing your future is not betrayal, it's bravery. It's easy to lose yourself in someone else's map, especially when the road feels safe. But safety without purpose is still a trap, and a journey without alignment is still a detour. Seneca once wrote, "No wind is favorable to the sailor who doesn't know where he's going." If you're on a boat with someone who doesn't want to head toward the same horizon, no amount of wind will take you where your soul is meant to be. So, stop trying to steer a ship that's not meant to carry your dreams. You deserve someone whose direction matches your destination. Someone who doesn't just walk beside you, but walks with purpose beside you. And I know it's scary, starting over, letting go, facing the unknown. But ask yourself this: would you rather stay stuck in a life that almost fits, or risk everything for the one that was meant for you? Say it with me in the comments. I choose aligned love. Because love without alignment is a heartbreak waiting to happen, and peace without purpose is just a quiet form of regret. Press that like button if this shook something in you. Hit subscribe, because next we're going deeper. You'll see why being someone's option instead of their priority is a trap dressed in sweet words. So stay with me and say it again. I choose aligned love. That's the train worth waiting for. That's the journey worth taking. Number 4. You're an option, not a priority. Don't chase people who only look for you when it rains. Real ones remember you in the sunshine too. Let's talk about it, my friends, because some of you right now are in the most confusing place a heart can be, where you're present, available, loyal, but somehow you still feel unseen. And that's the trap, isn't it? You think because they call you sometimes, text you back eventually, or give you just enough attention to keep you hanging, that it means something. But here's the truth. If you only exist in their life when it's convenient, you're not a priority, you're a pit stop. And look, I know this is tough to admit. We all want to believe we matter to someone, that our effort, our energy, our loyalty, it's being noticed. But when you're always the one initiating, the one adjusting your schedule, the one waiting for them to finally have time, at some point you have to stop and ask, what am I really doing here? Here's a metaphor I want you to picture. You're standing outside with an umbrella during a storm. They come running to you, grateful, smiling, holding your hand while the rain falls. But when the sun comes out, they walk away. Not even a thank you, not even a glance back, just off to wherever their sunshine leads them. And you're still standing there, soaked, waiting for the next storm to feel needed again. Folks, let's be clear, that's not love, that's convenience, and the worst part is, you saw it, you felt it, but you made excuses for it. They're just busy, they've got a lot going on, this is just how they are. No! This is how people treat you when they know they don't have to try. Stoicism doesn't entertain that kind of delusion. The Stoics believed deeply in honor, real, mutual honor. They didn't beg for respect. They didn't tolerate being an afterthought. Marcus Aurelius said it clearly, if someone despises me, that's their problem. My only concern is not doing or saying anything despicable myself. What does that mean in love? It means stop trying to prove your worth to someone who never saw it in the first place. You don't need to earn priority. You need to be with someone who already sees it in you. Let's flip this. Imagine someone you care about deeply. If they needed you, if they called, if they were hurting, you'd show up, wouldn't you? Not because it's easy, but because it's important. That's what real connection looks like. They make time because you matter, not just because it fits neatly into their schedule. You deserve someone who shows up on the hard days and the easy ones, who doesn't just call when they're bored, lonely, or need something, but someone who calls just to hear your voice, someone who thinks about you when life is good, not just when it's falling apart. And I get it. Letting go of people who treat you like an option is hard, because they usually know exactly how to keep you hoping. They don't cut you off completely, they just give you breadcrumbs, enough to keep you hungry, but never enough to fill you. And you tell yourself, maybe if I hang on a little longer, they'll come around. But here's the Stoic punchline. You don't wait to be chosen, you choose yourself, over and over. You wake up one day and say, I'm done being someone's maybe. Because the moment you do that, something changes. You stop waiting, you stop chasing, and you start attracting exactly what you were always worthy of. So say it loud in the comments. I am not a backup plan. Say it like you mean it. Say it for the version of you that stayed too long, gave too much, and kept hoping. Say it because the next chapter of your life deserves space. Space that can't be filled by part-time people. Hit that like button if this truth hit you. Subscribe if you're ready to stop being an option and start being your own priority. And stay with me because what's coming next, it's about that deep inner voice you've been ignoring. The one that already knows they're not the one. Say it again before you go. I am not a backup plan. Let it echo. Let it break every chain you didn't know you were still holding. Number 5. Your inner voice already knows. Most people don't stay because they're blind. They stay because they're afraid to look at the truth they already feel. My friends, this one is going to hit deep. Because it doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. We're not talking about red flags anymore. We're not talking about what they said or didn't say, what they did or didn't do. We're talking about you, that quiet little whisper inside you that's been speaking the truth, even when you tried to drown it out. Your gut, your inner voice. That compass inside your soul that doesn't need logic, it just knows. And that's the thing, isn't it? Most people don't get stuck because they're lost. They get stuck because they ignore the map that's already built into them. You've had the feeling before, in the silence after the argument, in the pause after a message that didn't come, in the way your heart sank when they laughed at your pain or dismissed something that meant the world to you. You felt it. You just didn't want to admit it. Because if you admit it, then what? You'll have to let go. You'll have to walk away. You'll have to confront the terrifying thought that maybe this isn't what you hoped it would be. And that's heavy. That's heartbreaking. That's what keeps people in relationships that are long over in spirit, even if they're still together in body. Let me give you a metaphor. Think of your intuition like a compass in your hand. It doesn't shout. It doesn't explain. It doesn't give you a 5-step PowerPoint. It just points, quietly, steadily. But the longer you ignore it, the more lost you get. And one day you look around and realize you're in a place you were never meant to be. And getting back to yourself, that's the real heartbreak. Not losing them, losing you. The Stoics didn't believe in denial. They believed in radical clarity. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change, for it is the truth I seek, not to be right." What if we applied that to our love lives? What if we stopped trying to prove our feelings were justified and just started listening to the truth our body already knows? The truth is never found in excuses. It's found in stillness, in presence, in honesty. And let's be honest, you probably knew early on, maybe even in the first few conversations. Maybe it was a strange comment, a weird feeling, a flicker of doubt you pushed away because the attraction was too strong, or because you didn't want to start over, or because being alone seemed scarier than being with someone who only half shows up. But folks, here's what Stoicism reminds us. Clarity begins the moment you stop lying to yourself. So let's stop lying. Let's stop telling ourselves that time will change them, that love will fix them, that if we just hold on a little longer, everything will click into place, because that lie is costing you time, peace, and pieces of your soul. And don't get it twisted, intuition isn't fear. Fear comes with noise, panic, overthinking. Intuition is different. It's calm, it's quiet. It just sits there, patiently waiting for you to finally say, "Okay, I hear you." And once you do, that's when the fog lifts. That's when the healing starts. That's when you stop surviving and start living again. I know it's hard. I know listening to that voice means letting go of the fantasy, but the longer you cling to the version of them you wish they were, the longer you delay meeting the version of you that you're meant to become. Don't silence your inner voice just to keep someone who can't even hear your heart. So today, choose honesty. Choose clarity. Choose to trust that you already know. Say it with me in the comments. I trust my inner voice. Let it out. Let it be known. Because when you listen to that voice, you don't just let go of the wrong person. You return home to the right version of yourself. Smash that like button if you've ever ignored your intuition and regretted it later. Subscribe now if you're ready to stop second-guessing your soul. And stay with me, because next we're going to talk about what happens when someone refuses to talk, and what silence really reveals about love. Say it one more time before we move on. I trust my inner voice, because it's not just a whisper, it's wisdom. Number 6. They don't communicate, they avoid. You can't build a future with someone who runs every time you try to talk. Let that sink in for a second, my friends, because silence might feel peaceful on the surface, but in a relationship where your voice is unheard, it's not peace, it's suppression, and that's the slowest heartbreak of all. Not the screaming, not the fights, but the empty space where there should have been a conversation, the avoidance, the shrug, the change of subject, that moment when you bring something real to the table and they pretend it's not even there. Relationships, real ones, aren't just built on love, they're built on truth, and truth demands communication. The Stoics called it logos, reason, dialogue, clear thought made visible through words. Without it, there is no growth, no trust, no understanding, just two people walking through the same space, pretending everything's fine, while the emotional walls slowly crumble from the inside out. Let me give you a metaphor. Picture this. You're building a house on sand. The walls go up, the roof looks beautiful, the lights flicker on, and for a moment it all seems okay. But the first storm, the first hard question, the first real issue, everything shifts, cracks form, the walls buckle. That's what happens in relationships without communication. You can dress it up, you can decorate it with laughter and dates and pictures on the gram. But without honest conversation, it's just a fragile illusion waiting to collapse. And I know what you might be thinking. Maybe they're just not good at expressing themselves. Maybe they've been hurt before. And yes, maybe that's true. We all carry wounds. We all have pasts. But growth doesn't come from staying silent. Growth comes from showing up despite the discomfort, from being willing to say, "This is hard for me, but I'm trying." If they won't even try, what are you really building? Avoidance is not a personality trait, it's a decision, a choice to stay shallow when the connection begs for depth. And the danger of being with someone who avoids communication is that you become quieter too. You stop bringing things up. You stop expressing your needs. You start walking on eggshells because you're tired of the blank stare, the cold shoulder, or the way they twist your concerns into accusations. And suddenly, you're shrinking, dimming, disappearing in your own relationship. Folks, communication isn't just talking. It's vulnerability. It's saying what's uncomfortable. It's showing your real thoughts, not just your highlights. And when someone refuses to meet you there, when they hide behind silence, jokes, or deflection, they're telling you exactly how much emotional weight they're willing to carry. And it's not much. The Stoics weren't emotionally repressed. They believed in mastering emotions, not avoiding them. They believed in speaking truth, not swallowing it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let no act be done without a purpose, nor otherwise than according to the perfect principles of art." That includes our conversations. The art of connection is found in dialogue. When that's missing, the relationship becomes hollow. And here's something you need to hear. You are not asking for too much. Wanting someone to talk, to express, to open up, to meet you halfway, that's not needy. That's healthy. That's essential. Don't let someone condition you to believe that silence is a sign of strength. Sometimes it's just fear in disguise. And if you've tried, if you've opened the door, softened your tone, invited the conversation, and they still shut it down again and again, then maybe it's time to stop knocking. You can't connect with someone who refuses to be seen, and you can't love someone who turns your emotions into burdens. So say it with me in the comments. I deserve real communication. Because you do. Because your voice matters, because your thoughts, your needs, your feelings, they're valid. Press that like button if you've ever felt unheard. Hit subscribe if you're done tiptoeing around someone else's silence. And stay with me, because next we're going to tackle something even deeper. Why chemistry is not the same as connection, and how that confusion keeps people trapped. Say it again. I deserve real communication. Because silence may feel safe, but truth is the only thing that builds something that lasts. Number 7. You're mistaking chemistry for connection. Don't confuse lightning for sunrise. My friends, that rush you feel, the butterflies, the spark, the late-night texts that make your heart race, that's chemistry, and it's real, but it's not enough. Because chemistry fades, butterflies land, and if there's no connection beneath the thrill, what you're left with is silence, and someone who doesn't really see you. Many people stay in situations that feel exciting but lack depth. Why? Because they mistake intensity for intimacy, lust for love, a trauma bond for soul alignment, and by the time they realize it, they've built a story on top of a spark that was never meant to last. The Stoics warned us not to chase pleasure blindly. Pleasure is not the measure of good, character is. So ask yourself, does this person bring peace to your life, or just adrenaline? Do they challenge your mind, your growth, your purpose, or just your emotions? Don't stay addicted to the thrill of almost. The right person won't just excite your body, they'll steady your soul. Say it with me in the comments. I want real connection. Like this video if that truth hit home. Subscribe and stay with me, because next we face the hardest part, the pain of holding on too long. Number 8. You're delaying the pain that will eventually find you anyway. The longer you drag a dead horse, the more it rots. I know it's harsh, but so is the truth. My friends, some of you aren't avoiding heartbreak, you're just postponing it. You already know it's over, you already feel the weight, but instead of cutting the cord, you hold on, hoping, fantasizing, delaying the inevitable, and every day you stay, that pain grows heavier, that hope becomes poison, that goodbye becomes harder. Let's be real. Letting go isn't easy. It feels like quitting, like giving up on something you once believed in. But here's the Stoic perspective. Detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. You're not failing when you walk away from something that's breaking you. You're rising. You're choosing strength over suffering. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control, and holding on to someone who won't meet you halfway. That's trying to control the uncontrollable. It's time to stop fighting a battle that only you are in." So here's the truth, my friends. If you felt seen in any of this, it means you're waking up. You're no longer willing to carry what's been breaking you. That's not weakness, that's power. It's time to choose peace, purpose, and alignment over confusion, crumbs, and chaos. Let go, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. If this message hit home, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more Stoic truths that set you free. Drop "I choose peace" in the comments and show the world who you're becoming.